Let us place stackable attachments to connect these components together. On the scene, I have a splint layer which encapsulates the bridge. We have the guide sleeve component, we have the bridge, and we've got the primary tubing. So let us bring in a attachment. So we're going to flip this around, and it is a good idea to have all of these components finished before you decide how to connect these up. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to grab this and bring it to a specific point, G and R. Also, I'd like to rotate it so that we get a good path of placement. And then I'd like to decide where we're going to put these attachments. So let us hide a few of these components and then look at it from the top strategically. Now we don't want to place too many, as these are fairly retentive as it is. So I'm going to draw on the model. So I'm going to select that, make sure that we've got the tool settings checkbox selected, and we're going to use the surface. And then we're going to look at this and think, okay, maybe we need attachments in the back, and we may need attachments to hold this in place like that, and maybe one over here like that. Alright, so let's go for this. So I'm going to be using the G key like that, and then when we sort of happy with the position of the first one, we're going to then copy these. Click copy, and this will create a duplicate copy of it. Then I'm going to use the G and the R key to position this one where I need it to go. Something like that. Then we're going to copy that, and again use the G and the R key to rotate. And one more time. Like that, and one more time. Actually, another two. We still need another one. Like that. And I want to sort of place it a little bit away from the notch, so we still get to see that notch. Maybe like that. Now that I've positioned these from the top view, we need to address the Z direction of it. So again, I select the tops, the blue tops. These don't move when you select anything else. Only the blue tops are unlocked, so you can move them. Now on this side, we need to think about the palette. I'm going to hide the primary one, and then we're going to move this so that the attachment does not intersect with the model, because otherwise it's going to be pressing into the gum. And we're going to do this for all of them, just making sure that they don't push into the gum. So I'm looking at this blue bit, not the cutter, because that's irrelevant, that disappears later. So here, same thing, making sure they just slightly off the gum like that. That's looking good. So we've positioned all of these. Now we're going to connect these up. So I'm going to select the one, and we're going to then edit, so we can extrude this into the cutter. So ideally, what we can later, at the later stage, cut out the intersection, but to avoid a lot of work, I'm going to place it that it doesn't intersect like that. Okay, tab to get out of it, and then I'm going to do the same thing for this one. Extrude it, and this time around we need to bring it down, so I'm going to click on edit, move it down so it works in opposites because we're actually working with the face normals. Let's bring this in, just use a G key like that. You can also click edit to get out of it, and the same thing. You can even click edit and just use the G key if you want to, and bringing it down into this component like that. And then the next one, note that we've got a bit of we've got a little bit of overlap over here. I can use the S key to scale it even, just to save myself work later. Make sure it's actually away from the, like that, and then we're saving ourselves work in cutting this later. Let's do that last one. No, that's not the last one. We've still got a few more over there, so this is looking good. I'll take this and shift it a little bit to the side like that. So we are very flexible with what we are doing over here. And this one as well. Edit, and then just grab and put it in there. Okay. Now that we are finished with this, we're going to lock these in position. So click on lock. Now what that does, it makes sure that we cannot move them anymore, because our secondary components have to fit inside of these yellow female attachments. So what we're going to do is we're going to hide the first parts that exposes the second parts. Now the second parts we need to edit. So what we're going to do is we're going to expose the other components. So these are, just go Alt H. This one we don't need. We could have fused them to that component, but we can do that later. So this is the component we have to be using. So we can actually hide the bridge as well. Let me just erase these lines. We don't need them anymore, like that. Okay, select your component, your green one this time, and we're going to lift the tops of these. So click on lift top, and this will not have an effect on the other ones. So here we can go edit front, and we can simply move that into our structure. And with this specific one, I will lift the top up a little bit, like that. And with this one, we need to lift the top as well, like that. Edit, and we're going to attach this one in there like that. I'm going to use this scale key. Okay. Now you will notice that these intersect on the inside. So there's two ways to get rid of it. Either you take the model that you've used to create this splint layer, which is actually a blocked out version of the bridge, or we can use this as a Boolean cutting tool. So the splint layer can be used as a cutter. But in that case, which I'm going to be doing, we have to make sure that the component does not do this, because then it will not cut this out on the inside. So making sure that we've got this correctly positioned. So if we're using this as a cutting tool, we need to make sure this entire section is cut away by the tool. And I think this is the last one. We're going to lift the top. Here we can see it's we'd like to get this to cut all the way through it. So I'm going to lift the top one more time and then edit and move this one down a little bit like that. Like this. Alright, so this is finished. We're going to join these up. Now you can do Boolean cutting tools all joined up if they don't intersect each other. So we're going to join these. It's Control J. So find yourself a join objects button. They all do the same, or Control J on your keyboard. And then what we're going to do is this becomes the object. Go to the finishing of the guide. Here, finishing. That becomes the object being cut, which is the green. And then we're going to take this one for our cutting tool. And note how this is cut out cleanly and apply. However, we still got these little fragments on the inside which we need to clean out. Okay, note you could have taken your splint model, the blocked out model for this. So how do we get rid of these little bits and pieces? And that's quite easy. We go to the model designer, we go to edit tab, and we're going to select the mesh we'd like to keep. So I'm going to shift left click, take these components, the mesh that we want to keep, and click on clean, and that will then separate and get rid of the other structures. And now we've got a clean surface on the inside because it is actually cut over here. Now this one is finished as well. We're going to take this, shift left click, Control J to make one unit, and let's make another unit with the other one. So I'm going to call this tertiary, make sure it's called tertiary, or whatever you want to call it. Move it to a specific collection that you can find it, and let us expose the other section that we have created earlier. Which is the first components. You can go to your outliner, or you can simply just go to your attachment, stackable attachments, and then we can unhide the other one. So this one we can hide now. Note that this isn't working because it's in the wrong collection. Okay, it's in a different collection. but this one we're going to then attach exactly the same way. So join all of these components, join attachments, and then shift left click to join this component, and then this one is also completed. I'm going to hide it for now. And the last thing we need to do, the primary one, we need to make sure that these cutters cut into our primary tubing. So I'm going to select this, and we're going to go to the finishing. That's the object being cut, and then take your dropper and select the cutter and apply. So if we hide the stack cutters, we will now successfully have cut a hole going into this. And that sort of completes the video. If there's any questions, as usual, just send us a message. Thank you. Bye.